Can a movie about a haunted frat house be better than it sounds? Hello and welcome to RotD Review of the Day, and today I am taking a look at the 2018 movie Haunting on Fraternity Row, and the answer to the intro question there is apparently, yeah, this was a real surprise for me. I saw this in the queue, I saw the title of it, everything about it looked cheesy, and what I wound up getting was a pretty good surprise. I'm not going to say an epically great movie, but better than it had any right to be, and certainly better than I thought it would be. And to get into details, let's get into the categories. As always, 4 different categories, each one worth up to 25 points for a total possible score of 100 points. And the plot of this one is fairly one-dimensional. It is a frat house, and this is a found footage movie where it's setting things up for the members of the fraternity to hold their big luau bash of the year. And in doing so, a keg full of beer falls down the stairs into the basement and bonks a hole in the wall. And upon exploring that and making the hole bigger to kind of figure out what's actually behind there, never looked behind there before, they discover a tunnel and a hidden room full of many lamps on the wall. And this all leads to a bigger mystery where 99% of the frat guys don't care, and they are there to set out and put on their luau, and 1%, i.e. one character, feels that there is something more sinister that needs to be explored, and the movie really takes off from there. They do have the big bash, the big luau, and in the middle of it, things start happening. Now, this took what I really thought was a fairly one-dimensional plot and one-dimensional characters, and they wound up giving both a fair amount of thought and care. The characters were actually well written, had some depth to them, and I was very impressed by that. The plot also, it manages to hit a lot of good beats to it. It balances between being a frat house party with interesting characters type movie and also a haunted house movie at the exact same time. And it doesn't feel like it really went off balance one way or the other too awful much, and it wound up being what I thought was a fairly carefully crafted movie. I was genuinely surprised. I gave the plot an 18 out of 25 points. Joke's on me. The intent, not quite as many. This was supposed to have been a really scary movie. And in the entirety of the movie, I would say that it had only one real decent jump scare to it. The rest of it was good and creepy and had some good creepy moments in there. But otherwise, it wasn't terribly scary, but it was interesting, and it was entertaining, and it was fun, and it made me connect with some of the characters, and that caused there to be some stakes involved, some emotional stakes when things do start going south. I was not expecting that, but even so, with the intention being a truly scary movie, I felt like it really didn't live up to that as much as it should have, so 12 out of 25. The acting, surprisingly good. In all honesty, every character was given their own unique personality traits that weren't forced or flat, and I thought the actors actually pulled them off fairly well. There were 1 or 2 performances in this that I will admit were pretty much paint by numbers, stereotypical, and that's unfortunate, but by and large, most of the characters and the actors that played them had some depth to them, so pretty surprisingly good there. It was cookie cutter when it needed to be, but it wasn't afraid to break the mold when the situation called for it, and the actors really did step up with that. 17 out of 25. The technical, I gave a 19 out of 25. Now, the special effects in this, they were good and average. I'm not going to say that they were anything mind-blowing, certainly not, but in other ways, this was actually a pretty strong technical movie. For being a multi-camera, multi-location, multi-person setting, this actually maintained a strong sense of coherence to it. I could see, in a house this big with literally hundreds of people all throughout it, and multiple cameras going on, that it would be very easy for the editing and for the direction to get very miscombobulated. And I never really felt like I was out of place as a participant in the movie. I knew where I was at all times, and I thought that was actually pretty good from a direction and a set dressing point of view, as well as an editing point of view. But really, what I have to give some major kudos on was the idea of, with found footage, it's always really difficult in terms of who's holding the camera and who is important to be in front of the camera at all times. You got to keep track of it. And this really solved that issue by something that I thought was extraordinarily clever, and that's all of the cameras were being held by pledges. It was their job to have the crap duties, you be the bartender, you be the hat rack, you be the person guarding the upstairs, and the rest of you hold a camera and document this so that we can have our luau, documented for all time, that we can enjoy. That I thought was pretty brilliant, that they have the pledges having this crap job of following them around and holding the cameras. And I thought it was a brilliant way to solve the found footage problem of having all the main characters present and on screen without worrying about, well, who's holding the camera then? It was a pledge. And even some of the pledges you found yourself getting attached to, so I thought that was actually pretty good too. So all told, a total of 66 out of 100 points. This was better than I really thought it would be, clearly. Shakespeare or writing quality or James Wan scary, this wasn't. This was not a really great scary movie. What this was more of a fun horror movie in general, that if you see the title, if you see the premise, and you groan at the start, I think you might be pleasantly surprised. So I think that should about do it. I would actually really recommend this one. If you're not necessarily looking to be completely scared out of your wits and you just want to have some popcorn entertainment, I can think of a lot worse that you can go for. So that's Haunting on Fraternity Row. I thank you for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. If you like these videos, please click like and or subscribe. And remember, next time you want to watch a horror movie, first make sure that it's good and rotted.